Samam sarveshu bhuteshu
Samam sarveshu bhuteshu
tishtantam parameshwaram
Istantam Parameshwaram
vinasyat sva avinasyantam
Vinashyat Sav Avinashyantam
yapashyati sapashyati.
Yapashyati Sapashyati.
One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed actually sees. So we should understand that there is super soul accompanying each of the individual atmas in every body, basically. Such a person is actually seeing. Other people are kind of blind. That's what the point is. So this chapter is called Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. So what is Kshetra? The body. What is Kshetrajna? Means the person who is running the body. So we only know about our body, but Krishna knows about everybody or everybody, basically. So, Sarvana, read the purport.
Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Anyone who by good association can see three things combined together: the body, the proprietor of the body or individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul, is actually in knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually, it is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the super soul exist, and they go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms. The Sanskrit word Parameshwara is sometimes translated as the individual soul, because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, he transfers to. Prabhu, can you scroll up, Prabhu? Yeah, thanks, Prabhu. He transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this Parameshwara to be the super soul. In either case, both the super soul and the individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who can see in this way can actually see what is happening.
So, three things: the body, the proprietor of the body, which is the individual soul, and friend of the individual soul is Paramatma or super soul. So we should know that everywhere these three things are present. If there is an ant, there is a body of the ant, there is the soul of the ant, and then the super soul, Krishna, present in each one of those living entities, like that. Right? So again, this is kind of an extension of second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where we talk about the individual soul which never dies. It transfers from body to body. But the most important thing is the presence of Parameshwara, the super soul, right? And if we understand this point, such a person can actually see what is happening. There is no confusion in their hearts. So let's go on to the next one, 1329. Samam Pashyan Isarvatra Samavasthitam Ishwaram Nahim Hinasti Atmanatmanam Tato Yati Param Gatim. So two others have joined. Nag Prabhu, thank you for joining. And then who else joined just now?
Shiva Prabhu.
Yeah, Shiva. Hi. Thank you, Shiva, for joining. And Swati Mataji. Okay. So we are in Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, which is chapter 13th. Kshetra is the body. Kshetrajna is the soul living in the body. And then we talk about the Kshetrajna that understands all bodies. So the super soul divides himself, like I used to call this in my previous lectures, distributed processing. So one Paramatma divides into many Paramatmas, but essentially he's still one. Paramatma, although it divides to gather information about each of the individual bodies, is still just one Paramatma, Supreme Lord Krishna, like that. So in this verse, Lord Krishna is continuing to say, one who sees the super soul equally present everywhere, in every living being, does not degrade himself by his mind. Means the mind can say, oh, Darwin's theory, Big Bang theory. So the person will not believe in all these theories because he's able to see the super soul equally present everywhere. And that's true. Like if you go beyond the coverings of he's a North Indian, South Indian, American, South African, and then you start understanding what is governing every individual being, then you can actually say that there is some supreme controller running the show, right? Usually when we talk to someone, all this external noise is taking over the actual signal, electrical engineering signal to noise ratio. So there is so much noise that the main signal is missing, right? But if you take out all the noise of how the person is talking, how the person is scheming and doing this or that, if you take all that noise out, then you will see that there is a soul in a person and a super soul directing the wanderings of that person across the universe, right? Because each one of us is a wandering soul. Sometimes we are in one body, sometimes we are in the second body. We keep on wandering from here to there, right? But the director of the wandering is super soul, Paramatma. So if we understand this point, then Krishna says he approaches the transcendental destination. Means we should always understand that there is a super soul directing our wanderings. If you think that I am doing everything, then you miss the point. You basically miss the point if you think that I am doing everything. We are being directed by the super soul who is doing the monitoring and he is doing the permitting. Upadrishta, Anumantacha, Bhartha, Bhokta, Maheshwaram. Upadrishta means overseeing, Anumanta means permitting. Anumatinchadu, like that they say, right, in Telugu. So purport, the living entity. Okay, let Swati Mataji read this. Swati Mataji.
Okay. The living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than in his spiritual existence. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity, in every living thing, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality, and he therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense gratifying processes, but when the mind turns to the super soul, one becomes advances in spiritual understanding.
Yeah. So the last two lines are very important, three lines. The mind is generally addicted to sense gratifying processes, right? Like if you just, take your mind away from the Bhagavad Gita class and let it freely float, it will think of some movie or some childhood friend or some gold ring that you either purchased or lost many years ago. Mind will just float. That's why it's called Ratha. Ratha means a chariot. So mind is like a chariot, it will go for sense gratifying. Actually, we all know this, right? You can enjoy without doing anything. Just your past memories you can enjoy, right? You may not be watching a movie right now, but while the Bhagavad Gita class is going on, you may think of some movie that you like. Maybe you saw Bahubali sometime back. And now in your mind, you can start thinking Bahubali and enjoy. You don't need any external impulse to enjoy, actually. So that's why it is called mind is generally addicted. So addiction is not only like alcohol addiction or drug addiction. This is also an addiction, sense gratification addiction. So we can start thinking of all the things that we did some time ago. Even without doing it right now, you're still enjoying, right? So, but the point Prabhupada wants to make is when the mind turns to the super soul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding. Means take the mind from the sense gratification processes, like any enjoyment process, and immediately start thinking of the super soul who is already there in your heart. He's watching you 24/7, even when you're sleeping. So you turn it to the super soul. That's why all the rishis, munis, yogis say, don't look externally, look internally, because Paramatma is there. And then you actually think about what Paramatma is doing, how is he acting, what is he desiring. So instead of external focus, you go into internal focus. But of course, we don't stop at that internal focus. We do seva for the Lord. So seva can take form of chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, like Arti, giving Arti or attending Arti, eating Prasadam, making Prasadam, like that. So many activities. Although they may sound very material, actually, in a way, there's like going into kitchen cooking sounds very material, but that is also yajna, right? The fire that you are using is yajna. So whatever you are cooking is yajna, and then you offer to the Supreme Lord. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir. So whatever you are offering is Brahman, and the fire is Brahman. Whatever ingredients you put is Brahman. The person receiving it is Parabrahman. So everything is Brahman, basically. So when we serve, even by doing something simple as cooking, if your consciousness is right, that becomes a yajna. So we should do yajna every day. We can do yajna every day without too much effort, just by having that consciousness of Krishna when we are cooking. Next. Prakrityaiva cha karmani
Chakarmani
kriyamanani
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 sarvasaha
Sarvashaha
Saha
yah pashyati
Yaha Pashyati
Yapashyati
tatatmanam
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 akartaram
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 sapashyati.
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 So 2 verses ago, we saw the same pattern, right? Ya pashyati, ending with sapashyati. So this is like a poetic meter in Sanskrit. Pashyati means seeing perfectly, and ya pashyati means anybody who is seeing. Sapashyati means sees perfectly, like that. So he 2 verses ago also he used the same pattern. Ya pashyati, something something, sapashyati. So that pattern is very common in Sanskrit, especially when the Supreme Lord is speaking. So Lord Krishna is saying, one who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. See, the Atma is doing nothing. Atma is doing nothing. What is being done is done through the 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So under goodness, somebody may be calm and contented. Passion, excited and achieving orientation. We are all in mode of passion right now, especially in America. And then ignorance is laziness and dullness, right? So one who can see that all these activities are performed by a material body, which is body created by material nature, and nature has 3 modes: sattva, rajas, and tama. Based on these gunas, the molecules will align and perform certain activities. So the same person, same sarvana, will act sometimes in ignorance, sometimes in passion, and sometimes in goodness, because the molecules are the same, but the modes act differently, right? So the modes are like 3 energy waves. Depending upon which mode is predominant, the behavior of the individual will be different. Okay, Shiva, read please, purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. This body is made by material nature under the direction of the super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. This body is given according to one's past desires. To, ful- to, to fulfill desires, one is given the body with what he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer.
Yeah, seer means also a sage. So what do sages see? That the body is separate, sorry, this, the living entity, the soul is separate from bodily activities. Because what is controlling the body? The three modes of material nature are controlling, right? So under these three energy waves, you behave different times. If mode of passion is predominant, then you will think about, oh, this stock market, I have to buy land, sell land, house prices are going up. The soul is doing nothing. The under the influence of the mode, the body is functioning in a certain way. Of course, the soul is superior, so soul can say, "Shut up now! Don't do this mode of passion activities. Now let's focus on the Supreme Lord," like that, right? So soul ultimately has the strongest position, but if we let the senses or the body act on its own, it will act according to whichever mode is predominant at that point. For example, if somebody is always associated with mode of passion type things, right? For example, if you are in mode of goodness, all you have to do is watch one Hollywood or Bollywood movie, then suddenly you are dropped into passion, right? At that point, the body is in the passionate activities, right? So therefore, the soul is not doing anything. One has to realize that. And body is made by material nature. Again, these three modes, sattva, rajas, and tamo gunas. All the molecules align based on this material nature. And then that material nature is under the direction of the Paramatma. Again, if we have certain desires, we are given a body, right? The body is given based on one's past desire. So you desired something. So to fulfill that, you have to have a certain kind of body. If you want to be a runner, for example, in this lifetime, next lifetime, you'll have a slender body suited for running. So whose fault is it? Actually, it's our fault because we decided that way. So we got a runner's body. And then all of a sudden in a runner's body, you want to do weightlifting. Not possible because you decided in a certain way. So you got a certain kind of body. Now you cannot complain. Practically speaking, body is a machine. Yantra rudhani mayaya. In different words, Krishna says, our bodies are simply machines. Right? And what does the machine do? Fulfill desires. So, based on our desires, sometimes you are put in the body to suffer, sometimes in the body to enjoy. Sometimes we desire foolishly also. You'll say, oh, what is all this? Every day I'm going to Microsoft to work. It's a big headache. I wish I was X, Y, and Z, right? Next lifetime, you'll have that X, Y, and Z body. And then you complain, I'm suffering in this body. Why did Krishna put me in this body? No, it was your desire. So you desired something. When you get it, you won't like it because there'll be other problems associated with that XYZ body, right? So having this vision is very important. As it is, we have had so many bodies for millions of lifetimes. We have to put an end to this nonsense actually. Otherwise, this life it is coronavirus. Next life it could be coronavirus. Something or the other will trouble you, right? So this trouble will keep on going until we put an end to this nonsense. So goal of Bhagavad Gita is not to help you make more money or buy a bigger house. That's not at all the goal. The goal is get out of this body, get out of the next body and the following body and get liberated once and for all. That is what the goal of Bhagavad Gita is. So Sarvana, is Mataji next to you, Vijay Mataji?
No, Prabhu, she's not. I can.
Oh, is she sleeping already?
No, 1 second, Prabhu.
So any questions from the others on this topic? This is very, very important topic, right? It talks about how we get a body. Okay, let's go on to the next verse. Yadha bhutam
Yada bhuta
pritag bhavam
pritag bhavam
ekastam anupashyati
anupashyati
tata eva
tata
eva
cha vistaram
vistaram
brahma sampadayate
brahma sampadhyate
tada.
tada.
So now Krishna gave the reason for bodies in the last verse, right? He said if you have desires, you will get the next body. So you may desire, as I was mentioning, to become a runner in your last life, and you become a runner in this life. All of a sudden you want to do weightlifting. Now can you do that? No, because that's what you desired and you got a suitable body. So now if you start weightlifting, that body will cause you suffering, right? That's why we may have desired something and we have a current body, but then it comes with byproducts, some perks. The perks are it will work in one dimension, but it won't work in the other dimension, and whatever you thought would cause you happiness is actually causing you suffering. So you cannot avoid it. So when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different bodies, he sees how beings are expanded everywhere. So sensible man says, oh, you see these million souls. Some have become dogs, some have become cats, some have become human beings, right? Then you come to the Brahman conception or Brahma Nirvana conception. Oh, so these are not different bodies. These are all souls floating around based on their desires. Somebody became a monkey, somebody became South Indian, somebody became African American, somebody became white American, like that. Then at the Brahman conception, you understand that everything is simply individual souls, right? So you don't see bodily differences or different identity, right? Like in software, there is concept of identity management. So when somebody logs into the web page, it goes to Okta or some software where they do identity management. And then if the identity is proven, then you get access to the underlying application. So there are so many identities. These are just identities. You may think that, oh, his body, his left muscles are flabby, his face has wrinkles, his tummy is big. All these are identities. They're just material matter surrounding the soul in different shapes and forms. If you go beyond those shapes and forms, then what do you see? You see Brahman everywhere. And Parabrahman is Krishna, right? Like, what is that famous Telugu singer? Brahma Mokate, Para Brahma Mokate, right? Annamacharya. So then you come to that understanding. But of course, today we are not on that platform. We are still seeing different identities. You'll say, oh, Shiva is like this, Sarvana is like that. Different people, we either praise them or criticize them. But ultimately, we are all mere souls. Brahman. Okay, Sarvana, read.
Prabhu, Riya will read, Prabhu.
Okay, Riya, read.
When one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. In the material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. This is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to this, he attains spiritual vision. Contact with material nature gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision. Thus, being freed from differentiations like man, animal, big, low, etc., one becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse.
Yeah. So very good. Your English is better than your father's English.
Yeah.
Like, she was saying things like conception, differentiation very clearly, actually. These are not simple words, right? So, as I said, our biggest flaw is we differentiate between people. We'll say this person is a South Indian who grew up in Chennai or Hyderabad, who eats sambar and this and that, and then he has these qualities. He doesn't know to speak Hindi, right? This is all differentiation due to material conception, because we are only evaluating a soul based on external covering, the body, right? But when we get out of that, not artificially, right? It has to be naturally and in a purified way. Then we will develop our Krishna consciousness, and then we can see our spiritual identity. So, in the more advanced books like Nectar of Devotion, the spiritual identity is called Swarupa. Means we have a Rupa, but what is our original Swarupa? Swarup, right? So, how do you understand your original Swarupa? Will come after practicing the Krishna consciousness or Krishna Bhakti for a certain period of time. 1332. Anaditwan
Anaditwan
Nirgunatvat
Nirgunatvat
Paramatmayam
Paramatmayam
Avyayaham
Avyayaha
Sharirasto
Sharirastha
Api Kaunteyam
Apikam
Nakaroti
Nakaroti
Nalipyate.
Nalipyate.
Some very new Sanskrit words in this verse. So Krishna has now changed the meter of his delivery. So then he says, Lord Krishna says, those with the vision of eternity. Eternity means something that does not end. So everything has a starting and ending, but eternity means forever, forever. So those who have eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. So in chapter 2, he talks about imperishable soul, transcendental soul, and eternal soul. Now he has added one more item called beyond the modes of nature, which is Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. So Krishna is building, right, gradually. He'll not dump all the information on you at one shot. He'll give a little bit, then he'll add a little bit more, add a little bit more. Incremental. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjun, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. See, this is a very key point. Soul neither does anything. So soul does not do anything. Who is doing it? The three modes of material nature are doing it. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Under influence of ahankar, we are thinking, I am doing. I bought this $1 million home. I. Everything is I. Prakrite kiyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha means these gunas, sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna are actually driving the show. So it's very difficult to understand. I mean, why? Because we have this overwhelming I am the show maker. I am the doer. So that's why Krishna says ahankara vimudatma. Buddha means fool, vimuda means big fool. So under influence of ahankara, we are all big fools. We think we are running the show. Actually, we are not running the show. Right? Okay, Sudhakar, can you read the purport?
Prabhu, he is driving.
Oh, he's driving. Okay. So Nag Prabhu, can you read the purport?
Sure, Prabhu. A living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body. But actually, the living entity is eternal. He is not born, and in spite of his being situated in a material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus, he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is full of bliss. He does not engage himself in any material activities. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him.
Yeah. Short but very intense. Like if you look at here, this first, the whole thing is first sentence is chapter 2, right? He is not born, avyayatma, and then eternal, ajopisan. All these things come from chapter 2, right? He's transcendental and eternal, trigunatita, all these things. But now in this chapter, there is little bit more addition. What is this addition? Even this is second chapter, full of bliss, Satchidananda and all those qualities, right? This is very important from this chapter. Does not engage himself in material activities. Soul is not doing the material activities. Activities performed due to contacts with material bodies do not entangle him. So soul is not entangled or obligated to do anything. However, because you perform some negative karma for your own rectification, what is done to us? We are given some results of our karma as temporary punishment, or it's not just punishment, it's also positive, right? Temporary reward or punishment we are given. But actually, the soul has nothing to do with any of these things. Nothing. That is Krishna's point in this thing. So here he is marrying chapter 2 concepts about the soul with na karoti na lipyate, means karoti, karna, means I'm doing. Na karoti na lipyate, means he's not bound or entangled. But we are bound. Why? Because we perform all these different kinds of karma under the influence of the three modes. And the next chapter, we are jumping into three modes in a big way. So Krishna is preparing the ground. 1333. Yata sarvam
Yata sarva
ram
gatam sukhm
saukshmyad
Saukshmiya
akasham
akasham
no lipyate
nopalipyate
sarvatra
sarvatra
vastito
vastito
dehe tatatma
Tatatma
nopalipyate.
nopalipyate.
Now, without looking at the word by word translation, what did we learn about lipyate from the last verse? I just said like a minute ago. What does lipyate mean? Entangled. Remember from the previous verse? Entangled. Sarvagatam. What does sarvagatam means? What does sarva means?
Everything.
Everything. Gatam means?
past.
Gatam is past. Gatam is also a destination. Both. Avastha. What is avastha means?
Situation.
Situation.
But we are
Sarvatravastito means in every situation. Deha is body, right? Tatatma means therefore, nopalipyate, does not get entangled. Let's see now how our translation is correct or not. So here he talks about sky. What is sky? Akasham nopalipyate. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything. Means it's not entangled with anything. It's not contaminated with anything. Although it is all pervading, right? Is sky considered contaminated? No. It's all pervading. It is just neutral. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, those situated in that body. Remember, 2 verses ago we said, a person who is the seer or the sage is considered to understand the presence of Brahman in every body that is moving around. So he will not see the differentiated bodies, like Riya was reading differentiation. So he does not see the differentiated bodies. He will just see the presence of Brahman. Brahma Mokate, Parabrahma Mokate. Right? And when you come to that platform, then you are actually seeing. That's from the previous verse. Who is a seer? Who understands the difference of Brahman from the body. Again, a lot of elaboration of what chapter 2 is, but with Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga. Differentiation between the Kshetra body and Kshetrajna, the soul. Okay, who didn't read till now? They can read.
Can I read it, Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead, Vijay Mataji.
The air enters into water, mud, stool, and whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with anything. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to his subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with this body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain this.
Right? So if you look at air, right? If you bubble air in your science experiment through water, mud, whatever matter, right? Does air mix? No, it will just come out. Boom, it will just come out. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof due to his subtle nature. So, because the soul is in South Indian body, doesn't become South Indian. Because it's in American body, doesn't become American. However, it is impossible to see it with the material eyes. And therefore, Krishna is saying that we have to get spiritual eyes to understand this knowledge. And no one in science can ascertain this, means scientists cannot really find this out. Right? It is, I mean, they can do a science experiment like putting air through mud, water, but understanding that the soul is separate than the body is not a scientific topic. It is beyond science. Means we have to come through purification of the soul, purification of our internal consciousness. Then we can understand these things. 1334. Yata prakashyayati
prakashayati
ekah
Ekah
krishnam
krishnam
lokam
lokam
imam
Imam
ravihi
ravihi
kshetram
kshetram
kshetri
kshetri
tata krishnam
tata krishnam
prakashayati
prakashayati
bharatam.
bharata.
O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So just like one sun, there is only one sun per universe. So that sun is going around the Mount Meru in a very large diameter, illuminating millions of planets. In Bhumandala, in the other layers, basically, as you know, universe has 14 layers. So in every layer, there is only one sun. Of course, sunlight doesn't come to Patala. It's always dark. Sunlight doesn't come to Sutala and some of the planets where gemstones on the heads of snakes are supposed to illuminate the planetary systems. That's all there in Srimad Bhagavatam. But anyway, there is only one sun. So one sun illuminates the entire universe. Similarly, this little tiny one soul can illuminate the entire body with its consciousness. So the way I'm able to speak is because there's a presence of a soul that's allowing me to speak to you right now. Like that. Okay. Yeah, Ria, read this.
There are two various theories regarding consciousness. Here in Bhagavad Gita, the example of the sun and the sunshine is given. As the sun is situated in one place but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness. Thus, consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul. As sunshine or light is the proof of the presence of the sun. When the soul is present in the body, there is consciousness all over the body. And as soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by any intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a product of the combinations of matter. It is the symptom of the living entity. The consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, is not supreme because the consciousness of one particular body does not share that of another body. But the supersoul, which is situated in all bodies as a friend of the individual soul, is conscious of all bodies. That is the difference between supreme consciousness and individual consciousness.
So, what is the difference between supreme and individual?
I don't know.
The consciousness of one particular body.
Yes. Here we know what's happening in our body, but Krishna knows what's happening in all bodies. Krishna knows what's happening in Sarvana's body, Shiva's body, Swati's body, Sudhakar's body. But each one of us know what is happening in our own body. If I have backache, do you know I have backache? No. But Krishna can know what's happening in each one of the body, like that. Again, this is a little bit more detailed compared to what we saw earlier. But the only thing is here the analogy of the sun is given, right? So if somebody says, hey, how do you know that there is presence of super soul? So one sun is able to illuminate the entire universe. Similarly, one super soul is dividing into multiple super souls within every body and monitoring what's going on in each body. That's how you would answer that question. Right? For every objection, Krishna has an answer. Okay, 1335. Kshetra kshetragnyor
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञोर्
evam antaram
अनन्तरं
jnanachakshusham
ज्ञानचक्षुषा
bhuta prakriti
भूतप्रकृति
moksham cha
मोक्षं च
ye vidur
ये विदुर्
yanti te param.
यान्ति ते परम्.
So without looking at the meaning, what is it? What is Krishna trying to say here? Kshetra, Kshetragnyor evam means Kshetra is the body and Kshetragnyor is the living entity within that body. Antaram Jnana Chakshusha means you cannot see it with your naked eye. You need a Jnana eye, right? So you use the lens of Jnana. With lens of Jnana, you can see this. So let's go to the translation. Those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between body and the knower of the body, that's Kshetra Jna. Jna means Jnana. So Kshetra Jna means knower of the body, which is soul and the super soul, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attain the supreme goal. So you should know that body and the soul are different. You should know the process of liberation. Then you can attain the supreme goal. And what is the supreme goal?
Going back to God.
Yeah. So supreme goal is different levels of depth in different scriptures. In Bhagavad Gita, it is just moksha isyami ma suchaha, just moksha, liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam, supreme goal is after moksha or during moksha, getting love of God. So prema, prema. So it may look like these two texts are contradictory, but no, one is building up on the other. So while aspiring for moksha, we develop for love of God. But actually, if we develop love of God, moksha will become a byproduct. Moksha will automatically come to you. So there is no need to separately strive for moksha like the Gyanis. Okay. Nag Prabhu, read.
Hare Krishna. The purport of this 13th chapter is the one should know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the super soul. One should recognize the process of liberation as described in verses 8 through 12. Then one can go on to the supreme destination. A faithful person should at first have some good association to hear of God and thus gradually become enlightened. If one accepts a spiritual master, one can learn to distinguish between matter and spirit, and that becomes the stepping stone for further spiritual realization. A spiritual master, by various instructions, teaches his students to get free from the material concept of life. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, we find Krishna instructing Arjuna to free him from materialistic considerations. One can understand that this body is matter. It can be analyzed with its 24 elements. The body is the gross manifestation, and the subtle manifestation is the mind and the psychological effects. And the symptoms of life are the interactions of those features. But over and above this, there is the soul, and there is also the super soul. The super soul and the super soul are two. This material world is working by the conjunction of the soul and the 24 material elements. One who can see the constitution of the whole material manifestations as this combination of the soul and material elements, and can also see the situation of the supreme soul become eligible for transfer to the spiritual world. These things are meant for contemplation and for realization, and one should have a complete understanding of this chapter with the help of the spiritual master.
Very good. So they are very beautiful words, contemplation and realization. What is the difference between the two? Anybody?
The contemplation is more on the thinking side, and the realization is you are realizing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Realization means by practical experience you are realizing. So theory plus sadhana is equal to realization. So you get the theory from Bhagavad Gita and then you practice, right? You chant, you do service, and slowly you'll get realization. This is what it means. Now I know why Krishna was saying like that, right? So contemplation in a way leads to realization. Not always, but if you are careful, it will lead to realization. So a lot of good points in this purport, which is the last purport of chapter 13. Again, emphasis of distinction between body and the owner of the body. Kshetra, Kshetragna.
Trigna.
And verses 8 through 12 give you the knowledge of liberation. So what does Krishna say? By understanding the difference between Kshetra and Kshetrajna and how the processes work, how you understand Super Soul's presence, one can be liberated. Okay. So a faithful person should have good association. Right now, you all have good association. You are all talking to each other among devotee circles, which will help you understand this topic. You cannot have this topic during lunch conversation with your office worker because they are not on the platform. They won't understand what's going on, right? Then comes, if one accepts a spiritual master, one can learn to distinguish between matter and spirit. So, you accept a spiritual master quickly. Of course, it is never one spiritual master. It is spiritual masters with a S. Because one spiritual master will not have time to train you in all dimensions. Like I am teaching you something, somebody else is teaching you some other aspect. In this way, you collect information from multiple teachers, but then there is one spiritual master where you take Diksha. Because Diksha spiritual master can go on this. Everybody go on mute. Okay. So, but there'll be one spiritual master called Diksha Guru who has the right to take a stick and beat you up. Others may or may not be very strict with you, right? Because they don't want to lose your friendship. So they will be a little nice to you. But the Diksha Guru will chastise you. Disciple means somebody who is willing to be disciplined. So if you are not willing to be disciplined, then you should not become a disciple. Because the spiritual master will tell you so many things. Why are you doing like this? Don't do it. Right? Or, don't buy a home in Redmond. Buy a home in Seattle because we want to open a teaching center there. So I want you to be there, for example. Right? They may sound very harsh. But ultimately, what's the point of becoming a disciple? The point of becoming a disciple is that you are doing things that your spiritual master needs to, not for his personal benefit, right? It's for propagating the glories of God in various geographies, for example. Like there was one person in the temple, they said, hey, I want to buy a house. I said, don't buy here because our center of gravity is shifting to Bellevue very soon, or in Seattle, right? Because this place is already saturated, Samamish. He didn't listen and he bought a home. So today I was talking to Harulas Maharaj and he said, what if this devotee X, does this activity in Seattle, right? Now, by virtue of buying a house here, now he has to commute 23 miles up and down to Seattle to kind of take that activity forward, right? So it's always better to, follow the guidance carefully because ultimately the spiritual master may ask you to do X, Y, and Z, and then it should be conducive to that, right? So as a preaching movement, we have certain things to do, like we may be buying more farms, for example. We may be doing so many things, because end of the day, we are not a selfish movement. Yeah, I want to be liberated, let everybody go to hell. No. Srila Prabhupada said that you should put all the passengers on the plane and you should be the last person to board the plane. Right? So you should help everybody else around you get liberated, and you should be the last person to board the plane. You'll also get liberated. Don't worry about that. That is guaranteed. If you help other people get liberated, do you think you won't be when you are helping 20 other souls? So we should help others do their journey, and then along with them, you'll also get liberated. Everybody will get liberated at the same time. So that is the thing. We have to, everybody should accept a spiritual master, a living and breathing, not like some of the philosophy propagated by that Bangalore ISKCON, where they say, oh, Prabhupada is your guru. No, Prabhupada is no longer on the planet. So you have to accept a living and breathing guru, just like I have accepted Bhakti Vikas Swami. And then the other day he was chastising me. Why did you not do like this on email? Doesn't mean that he has to be in front of you. He can either come in your dreams and instruct you, or he can send you an email and say, do this, don't do this, like that. Right? So, and again, note this very carefully. All gurus in ISKCON have face reading capabilities. So you may say something, but they know what's in your heart. So better say things properly. They have come to a particular spiritual potency that they can easily face read. And I have gotten caught myself more than once. I may say something, but these sannyasis tell me, no, but I think this is what you mean. So busted. You get caught like that, right? So yeah, this is a spiritual process. It is not like a cheating process, because you really want to open up your heart to make that next big step. Only if you want to, right? Nobody's forcing you. If you want to make the next big step, then you have to open up your heart. It's called heart surgery. Urmila Mataji, who gave a lecture last time when she came, she said this process is like heart surgery. Prabhupada said this, but she was repeating Prabhupada. So you basically, in a heart surgeon, what does the surgeon do? He'll cut open your heart and he will test all the auricles, ventricles, all the nervous system. So we have to open up our heart, and then we will, that becomes a stepping stone for further spiritual realization. I mean, I for one, because I've been practicing for 17 years, I've had many spiritual realizations, and different people will have different, like my wife was saying, one of her dreams, she saw the milk ocean, right? Kshira Sagara, where Garbhodakshay Vishnu, which Vishnu? No, Kshirodakshay Vishnu resides, right? My daughter had a dream where she saw Garuda. Garuda, the width of Garuda? Anybody know? How wide if Garuda spreads his wings? The width of Garuda is width of our universe. He's such a big bird carrying Lord Vishnu. So we are a tiny planet compared to the size of Garuda. It is there in Srimad Bhagavatam actually. Because after the Bali Maharaj pastime, Garuda comes to take Lord Vishnu back. And then everybody sees the size of Garuda is the width of our universe, 4 billion miles wide. And then Lord Vishnu sits on Garuda after he pushes Bali Maharaj to lower planetary system, and then he goes to his abode, just like that. Just like you call a Uber, get into Uber and leave, he just calls Garuda, gets onto Garuda and leaves, like that. So yeah, if you faithfully practice this in association of devotees, you will see magnificent results. But if you think this is some fairy tale, then it will remain a fairy tale, because God will proportionately give you the vision that you want to see. If you only want to see curtain rod, you will see curtain rod. But if you want to see the curtain, the window, what's inside the window, the beautiful living room, then you'll see the whole thing like that. Okay, any questions there? Comments? Everybody still there or go off to sleep? Everybody's still here.
We are here. We are here, sir.
Okay, that was just joking. Yeah. Okay. So that finishes chapter 13. We'll start chapter 14 next week. We will chant now. Okay. Repeat after me. Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda,
Nityananda,
Shri Advaita,
Sri
Sri
Advaita,
Gadadhara,
Gadadhara,
Srivasadi,
Srivasadi,
Gaura Bhakta Vrindam.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Now let's chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. So thank you everyone for coming to this class. So even though there is Corona, thanks to online, we are able to meet with each other and continue our journey.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
See you next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.